We are back and front with another episode of Music That Matters right here on Different Strings, a guitar adjacent podcast. And we're going to take on, in this Music That Matters, something which will surprise, nay, stun regular listeners. And even though this was your pick, I'm going to take credit for it. Because I threatened to do something like this already, and you leapfrogged me and pulled a fantastic one right out of your hat.
Did I?
But before we get into that, I'm Wes. She is Andie, and we are here on Music That Matters. But Andie's going to tell you how to find us on the internet so that you can enjoy everything this podcast has to offer.
Hey, please visit us at differentstringspodcast.com. Email your questions and topic ideas to differentstringspodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, Different Strings Podcast, and on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, comment, and do all of the things, please and thank you. And subscribe to Different Strings Podcast wherever you consume such media, please and thank you. Wes, back to you.
So, well, I got to throw it back to you, right? This is we were just talking about musicians born in Pennsylvania. We came up with you and Taylor Swift and Paul Gilbert.
I'm in good company.
Yeah. But that also includes a guy called Samuel Barber, who, as far as I know, is not a guitar player. So what in the hell are you doing?
Yeah, okay, so confession time. I have not been listening to a lot of guitar players lately.
I'm sorry. Folks, thanks for joining us. We're going to cut it short. And no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I have not been listening to a lot of guitar players. And so when it came my turn to pick something for Music That Matters, I sort of pulled a Uno reverse. And this actually came to me totally by accident. I knew I wanted to pick something a little different, but while looking for a non-guitar focused band, I started thinking about my childhood, and the whole purpose of the episode was influence.
Mm-hmm.
We had talked about most influential, this and that, and I literally I have a most played list, and this particular piece of music came up as one of the most listened pieces, and it is Samuel Barber's Adagio for strings, which is a classical piece of music. And so I decided to pull this particular rabbit out of the hat because of the impact that it's made on me personally as a person and as a musician. So, if you're not familiar with Samuel Barber, he was born in 1910.
Ooh, he's old.
Well, he was when he passed away in 1981.
Awesome. I feel
Yep.
really good about having said that.
Yep.
Thank you.
R.I.P. Born in Westchester, Pennsylvania, which is not far from here, actually. And he actually did attend a school in Philadelphia. He had entered the Curtis Institute of Music in Philadelphia at age 14. And he composed Adagio for strings at the ripe old age of 26 in 1936. It's actually the second movement of his longer string quartet, opus 11.
String quartet in B minor, Andie.
In B minor, B flat
Yes.
minor.
The second saddest of all keys.
Yes.
Eclipsed only by D minor.
Yes. the the song itself, the piece of music itself, is widely known as being perhaps one of the most somber pieces of music ever.
It's so sad. I'm listening to it right now, and it's everything that I can. I'm right on the verge of tears. It's
Uh-huh.
so sad.
Yeah. It is it is widely known to and thought of as one of the most somber pieces of music composed, often associated with moments of mourning and reflection. For example, it was performed at the funerals of Franklin D. Roosevelt and John F. Kennedy. And it gained significant um, notoriety as being featured in Oliver Stone's Platoon
Mhm.
and David Lynch's The Elephant Man. Two of the most sad films I've ever seen. Um, so why would I pick this? And why does this matter to me? Um, so the okay, my love of music came from both of my parents. So you and I have something very, very similar in common in that you and I grew up in a household where there was a lot of Neil Diamond, Barry Manilow, easy listening stuff like that, courtesy of my mother. On my father's side, though, from my earliest memories, he was always into classical music
Huh.
only. I didn't even know that my father knew the names of bands like the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and the Who and things like. I didn't even know that he knew they existed, or Elvis Presley or John Lennon, like none of that. I didn't know that he even knew who they were. I only knew my dad knew about Tchaikovsky and Beethoven and Bach and Mozart. So because my parents separated when I was very young, most of my time, I was either listening to easy listening, courtesy of my mother, or classical music, courtesy of my father. My parents were not those types of people that, oh, there's kids around, I'm going to put on the Disney Channel. No,
Right.
no, we pay the mortgage. You're going to listen to the shit we listen to. And when we're in the car, I make the car payments. You're going to listen to the shit we listen to. So I grew up on a steady diet of classical music and adult contemporary stuff like that. Um, this particular piece of music, um, obviously, like I mentioned, it was heard in Platoon, it was heard in The Elephant Man. I think I heard it for the first time watching the movie Platoon, and I it moved me in such a way that I had to learn more about the piece and listen to it more critically and in a non-movie setting. Um, and it, you know, it really did have a major impact on, um, it. The best way to describe it is I never appreciated the classical music that my father was listening to until I heard this and went, oh, this music it can make an emotional impact on me. And once I opened the door to that possibility, I discovered a lot more classical music that I can appreciate, which in a way brought me a lot closer to my father because for the first time in a very long time, I felt like I was kind of meeting him halfway, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so it was for me, this was like this piece of music helped break down that barrier between my father and I. Is now one less thing we don't have in common. I actually appreciated classical music and I couldn't wait to tell him how much I appreciated it. Like it was a big deal. So yeah, this piece of music was very important to me. And obviously it's made an impact on society in general. Like I said, it's played it, it's commonly known to be a very sad piece of music and it's played at times of reflection. And a lot of people have heard it without knowing that they've heard it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, now that we've been talking about it, I'm sure more people are going to be listening to it. There is a version of it. There's a lot of versions of it. That's the cool thing about classical music is, if you hear a piece of music, it's not just the piece of music, it's who interprets it that makes a difference. The most popular version of this song is the one that was conducted by Arturo Toscanini as he conducted the NBC Symphony Orchestra on November 5th, day after my birthday, 1938, 31 years before my birthday, actually. Um, so if you can find that version is the most acclaimed. However, there are more recent versions that are just as good, and you'll hear them in better definition. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you listen to more than one version, you'll hear that they can differ depending on who's performing it and who's conducting it, which is pretty interesting. I kind of dig that. Um,
Yeah. And some of the interpretations are as varied as, say, the original version of Hurt by Nine Inch Nails and the Johnny Cash version of Hurt.
mhm.
Same song, same music, same lyrics, same melody,
But
completely different interpretation.
exactly. Yeah. Um, so yeah, that's my pick.
I
Um,
know it looks like I'm not paying attention. I'm listening to every word that you say, but I'm looking at my music collection in my iTunes
mhm.
because I know I have a lot of surf music. I have so much surf music. Um, but I also have a lot of classical music in here too. So let me give you a breakdown of who I listen to, because I'm not a big fan of Samuel Barber. Beyond this piece, I couldn't tell you that I'm familiar with anything else that he's done. And of course, I studied classical guitar in my youth, so I spent a lot of time with classical music, not just guitar. I studied at a conservatory, and you have to listen to a lot of old music, and I mean hundreds of years old.
Yeah. Hmm.
So on my computer, and I listen to these things regularly. I've got two symphonies from Dvorak, his symphony in D minor, which is of course the saddest thing you've ever heard, and From the New World, which is his most well-known piece. Um, Gustav Holst with the Planets, which is basically the music from Star Wars, but 60 years before anybody thought of Star Wars.
Mhm.
Um, Mozart, of course, because I'm not a monster. Some Tchaikovsky, some Bach, but probably my favorite piece of classical music is Scheherazade by Rimsky-Korsakov, a Russian composer.
Okay.
And it goes from, bombastic and abrasive to quiet and yearning in and back over and over in
Mhm.
what, 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes or so. And I think one of the things that people overlook or downplay about classical music is how emotionally powerful it can be, and tweaking both our positive and our more negative. I don't want to call sadness negative, because sometimes you need to be sad,
Mhm.
but both sides of middle of the road emotions as it goes.
A
Um,
wide range of emotions. And my father was a big fan of the Russian composers like Tchaikovsky. So
yeah,
it's interesting that you appreciate that. Yeah, it's most people that don't listen to classical music can at least appreciate um movie soundtracks.
yeah.
And
Which,
so,
not classical music, it's orchestral music,
mhm,
but it feels a lot like classical music.
Right. So I would say if you're not listening to classical music, but you have an appreciation for soundtracks, orchestral soundtracks, um, you know, give yourself an opportunity to listen to some of the important pieces of classical music and think about it like they're soundtracks, just without the
Yeah.
movie. And um, it's kind of fascinating to listen to music that was written hundreds of years ago for instruments that we don't play, um, performed by huge orchestras, um, in some of the most complex pieces of music, and to think that they all have to come together to
Yeah.
perform this, it's a different level. And um, that's I never, again, as I was growing up, I never appreciated classical music because one, it was being forced on me, and two, I was too young to really appreciate it. And it wasn't until later in life that I started to develop an appreciation for it. And I'm glad I did before my father passed away, because we got an opportunity to, you know, something that we could share, which was nice. Um,
Yeah.
but it was because of this particular piece of music, Adagio for strings, that it kind of opened my eyes, and I thought, wow, okay, maybe I can appreciate classical music after all these years. Um, so yeah. Um, anyway, that's it for me.
Yeah.
We'll
Awesome.
go
Thanks
back
for
to guitar music next
stepping.
week.
Maybe we'll see.
We'll see.
I don't know. I feel like you've raised the bar on us a little bit.
Oh no, what can we possibly do now?
We'll find out soon. We'll find out soon. All right, cool. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Please, in the comments area, if you're on the YouTube, let us know what some works of classical music that really speak to you are. And once you check out Barber's Adagio here, let us know, A, what about it made you weep uncontrollably? And B, how long was it before you were able to pull yourself together? And we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's all I got. Take it
All
easy,
right.
everybody.
Have a good one. Be well.